So there we have it, the playoff semi-final first legs have now concluded and it's advantage Sheffield United and Sunderland going into the second legs. In today's video we will be predicting the outcome of those reverse fixtures. We've got Sheffield United versus Bristol City coming up on Monday and then Sunderland against Coventry coming up on the Tuesday. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on those first legs in the comments down below, especially if you do support one of those clubs. Plenty of talking points to dive into today, let's just jump into it. So the obvious place to start out is at Ashton Gate, Bristol City against Sheffield United, and I'm not going to lie, it feels like this tie is already over, with Sheffield United winning the first leg 3-0 away from home. It really felt like Bristol City had to take advantage of being at Ashton Gate. That's been their strength all season. The fact that Sheffield United have won this, and so convincingly as well, it would take one of the biggest comebacks in playoff history for Bristol City to get back into this game. Now, the annoying part and the game-changing moment of this first leg came on the stroke of half-time when Rob Dickie was sent off. Obviously, gave away the penalty for the foul on Kiefer Moore, and it was the double whammy really for Bristol City, as for the entirety of this second half, it was a backs against the wall sort of job, being down to 10 men. Prior to that moment, Bristol City had a few flurries going forward, but even in the first half, I mean, it was Sheffield United who had the better chances, certainly going off the numbers here, but Bristol City dominating the ball. Second half, that completely flipped on its head. Sheffield United saw way more. 70% possession the Blades had in that second half, and they took advantage. And I think in the end, just the extra bit of quality showed from a Sheffield United perspective. Their second goal, especially from Brooks, really well worked, and let's not forget, there was an absolute chasm between these two sides in terms of the points they accumulated in the regular season. Sheffield United were always the favourites coming into this overall tie, but to win it 3-0, yeah, it's a tough one for Bristol City to take, obviously. The big talking point from this game was the Rob Dickie red card. I've not heard too many arguments from Bristol City fans, neutral fans, that it was the wrong decision to give a penalty. I think most would agree it was the right decision. The controversy comes over whether or not it was deserved of a red card. Now, what some Bristol City fans will point towards is that Dickie, they'll claim Dickie tried to play the ball after sort of bringing down Moore. He does get a touch on him, but what other fans will argue is that he tried to play the ball after the foul was committed. A little bit murky, and it has been kicking off on social media with people arguing that back and forth. Bristol City are set to appeal the red card. As of recording, we've not heard the outcome of that, but I'm not going to lie, I'd be pretty surprised if that was overturned. In terms of the best comebacks in EFL playoff history, we're going back a couple of years to Sheffield Wednesday against Peterborough back in League One. Sheffield Wednesday lost the first leg 4-0 and then somehow managed to come back in the second leg, won 5-1 and then managed to win the tie on penalties to get to Wembley. It's that sort of comeback that Bristol City are going to be relying on going into the reverse fixture. But what really counts against Bristol City is the fact that this second leg is at Bramall Lane, and this season Bristol City's away form has been pretty ordinary. They've averaged less than a point per game in away matches this season, 4 wins from their 23 away outings in the regular season. I just think it's very hard to see them not only winning this game, but, winning it by at least a 3-goal margin. You just don't see happening, do you? Especially with Sheffield United, who have been so consistent at Bramall Lane all season. They barely concede at home, do they? It won't come as much of a surprise to learn that, based on the odds, Sheffield United now are the overwhelming favourites, not just to win this tie on the night, but to progress to Wembley. Bristol City are going to have to give it a go. They're going to have to throw everything at this tie, but it feels like that could leave them a little bit exposed defensively, and I think Sheffield United will take advantage of that. So, score prediction for me in this second leg, I think the Blades are probably going to win it again. I'm going to go 2-1 Sheffield United. I'll give Bristol City a goal, but very hard to see the Blades throwing it away from this point. So, I think it's safe to say they've already got one foot in at Wembley and into the final. But then the second game to talk over, which definitely has a lot more riding on it going into the second leg, is Coventry up against Sunderland. And fair play to Sunderland, because I don't think a lot of people saw this result coming. Vast majority of people, certainly for this first leg, had Coventry as the favourites. Most people whose predictions I saw, they were backing Coventry for this first leg. Home form has tended to be quite strong for them, and obviously Sunderland coming into this playoff campaign with absolutely no momentum whatsoever. But despite the sort of territorial edge that Coventry had in this game. You know, they saw a lot more of the ball than Sunderland, 75% possession to Sunderland's 25% possession. I thought Sunderland played an absolute blinder of an away performance in this game. I thought that tactically they got this one spot on. They were looking to play on breaks, looking to pounce on mistakes that Coventry made at the back, and it did take a little bit of time for this game to get going, but as soon as Wilson Issator got that first goal in the 68th minute, yeah, the game just exploded into life from that point onwards. Radoni instantly responds for Coventry. It looked more likely at that stage that they were probably going to go on to win this game, but a bad mistake from Van Erwijk lets Mayenda in, and he makes it 2-1 Sunderland, which does give them a massive advantage going into that second leg, considering they're now at home. Obviously, like we were speaking about before, statistically, in terms of having the ball, Coventry absolutely dominated this one, but in terms of the chances, was fairly even. Sunderland were really good at playing on the breaks of this game, and like I was saying before, it just felt like a perfect away performance. In terms of this Sunderland squad and some of the best performers, I thought Dan Ballard was an absolute rock at the back. Really good defensive performance, reminding us all of why he is one of the best defenders in the Championship. Bellingham thought was really good, has a real engine on him, doesn't he? And obviously Issator and Mayenda playing on the breaks going forward, I also thought were really effective. Mayenda nearly scoring that worldie in the first half where he runs from his own half. But yeah, it's definitely advantage Sunderland going into the second leg, and you'd imagine the second leg at the Stadium of Light would play out quite differently to this first leg as well. Sunderland are certainly going to have a lot more of the ball. It's probably going to be Coventry looking to play on those breaks a little bit more. Mentally, Lampard is going to have a job, I think, to get this Coventry side up, especially Van Erwijk, who obviously, I mean, throughout the whole season he's been brilliant, you know, one of Coventry's best performers, but after making that mistake, you saw the images at full time. I mean, it looked like he was in tears, didn't it? The game's not over, but mentally, where's he at right now going into this second leg? And that could, you know, bleed into that whole Coventry squad. Now, to be fair to Frank Lampard, if there is one manager that you want in your dugout for a playoff semi-final second leg after you've lost the first leg at home, Frank Lampard has history for turning these ties around. Let's not forget, you know, his Derby County side lost that playoff semi-final first leg against Leeds United all those years ago, and then against all odds managed to go to Ellen Road and win. So it's certainly not out of the realms of possibility that Coventry do go to Sunderland and win, but I do think the odds are a little bit stacked against them, especially when you consider Coventry's away form this season, which has been pretty ordinary. It felt like, in a similar case to Bristol City, Coventry really needed to take advantage of the first leg being at home because they've been so strong there this season. But away from home, that's not always been the case. They've got 24 points from 23 away matches this season, so just over a point per game they're averaging on the road. Don't score too many goals on the road either, and obviously defensively have been caught out a bit. And you compare that to Sunderland's home record, it's going to be a tall order. Sunderland really consistent at home all season, don't tend to concede that many goals either. I know they've had this recent run where they've lost their last 3 home games, but that obviously came during a point of the season where they didn't have anything to play for. And I think that what Sunderland showed in that first leg is that we can probably discount a lot of those games leading up to the playoffs because this Sunderland squad is still clearly very committed and is capable of following out a tactical plan to the T. For this reverse fixture at the Stadium of Light, it is Sunderland who are the favourites to win on the night. They've been given a 45% probability of winning. Coventry a 28% probability. It's a tough one because I do think both sides will score again. I think in a similar way to that first leg, as soon as one of these sides score first, I think this tie is going to kick back into life once again. Coventry fans are still probably feeling quite down at the moment, but I still give them a decent chance of maybe pulling off something here. But with that Sunderland home crowd being behind them, the fact that defensively they were so disciplined for that first leg, at the moment I think it is probably Sunderland who does make it to Wembley. Score of this reverse fixture, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which would be enough for Sunderland to progress on aggregate to Wembley. So if my predictions do come true, it will be a Sheffield United versus Sunderland final at Wembley. But as things stand, those are my thoughts going into the second legs, and I'd like to hear your guys' perspective on it all in the comments down below. Make sure to drop your score predictions down there and leave a like if you went on to enjoy the video. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.